We're trying to make it as musical an experience as we can, and I think that's where we focus on this. When things get back to a more normal place, certainly it'll be a different world. But it was a different world after 9/11, and it was a different world after Vietnam, and it was a different world after World War II, and it was a different world after the Great Depression. And somehow we inherited a world that had really great bands happening with dedicated teachers and kids who wanted to learn more about making music. So I have every confidence that that day is coming back again. Surely we're going to have funding issues for the next decade or two, but again, we'll find a way. We always have. I think right now our biggest obligation as teachers and musicians is to try to continue some kind of connection with our students that need that. And we have older kids, but in the words of John Whitwell, even doctoral students are middle schoolers, they're just older. You know, we all have students and we have relationships with them, and they depend on us in different ways. And I think right now what I'm doing is everything I can do to connect with them in a way that's meaningful to them. So we just did a little project that came out today. We recorded one of the school songs, put together a little click track and a MIDI, and our audio engineer lumped it all together. And it was just this like 60-second little school song, but I couldn't believe how engaged the students were and how eager they were to do something. Another thing we're doing is setting up little watch parties where we watch together on Zoom concerts from earlier in the year or concerts from previous years. And no one's required to do this, but we've had 20 or 30 students, and that's half the band showing up just to hang out and watch old concerts together. We've had assignments and discussions, but anything we can do to engage is good right now. But those students need us, and music is the thing that's connected us. So I think you just do the best you can for now. Looking to the fall and worrying about how on earth is this going to work, we'll find a way. If the government and the university says groups of 10, then we're going to do a lot of chamber music. Every single rehearsal we'll rehearse, and we'll do a lot of chamber music. If the cap is 25, then we're going to rearrange whole suites and play it with 25 people, and something else with the other 25. I mean, you find a way, because we have to make music. This is what they're paying us for. This is what we love. This is what the students crave from us. So I don't have any great answers, but that's what we're doing.
Great, thank you. Dr. Dorsey.
Well, I echo what Paul just said. That's all great. I sincerely hope, and I've heard from some of my students, that they will appreciate being in ensembles more and have a different appreciation from that human to human connection with music. I've always said it was important to my students. You know, it's funny, at the beginning of the year, our first meeting, I always tell them, I say, as much technology as we have in this world, I don't think, you know, unless there's a virus, I don't think technology will ever replace live performance. There's something about being in the same space with people making music I don't think can be replaced. So hopefully all of our students realize, man, I thought this was important to me, but now I know it's really important to me. And anytime I've done something like this and heard colleagues talk and talk to colleagues about this, I'm comforted and reminded that we're all in this together. I mean, this is not just, well, only middle school teachers are dealing with. We are all dealing with this. I can't go to my office if, you know, so I think hopefully our students get a better appreciation for what the ensembles have to offer them. And I agree, Paul. I think there will be a financial side of this, and hopefully, you know, those of us that are public school teachers can adapt to that. You know, maybe you won't be able to have 2 semis in the fall. Maybe you just have 1. So hopefully we can we can all take that into account when we get back, and we will.
Great. Dr. Setital.
I'm going to steal what you said, Paul, about the watch parties. That is a great idea, because our students are really missing it. I can hear their voices through the emails that they're sending about this. Is that, when they say I had no idea how much I would miss those rehearsals, and it's because what we do is human to human, and it really can't be done this way. But if this has done anything positive, I think it's made us all slow down and realize maybe what's truly important. And God forbid there's no marching band in the fall. What would happen if there's no marching band in the fall? What would we do? Well, I think most people are concerned is that means there might be no football in the fall, but somehow, I'm not trying to poo-poo marching band. I think it's so important, and it's definitely part of our thing. But I think that we all got to look practically, that could possibly happen, and that we have to make sure that whatever the vehicle is that we're going to be able to teach in, that we're providing, the best environment for the students. I was talking to somebody earlier today, or somebody from a Zoom meeting last night, I think, mentioned that, a lot of times we forget that it's not just music education or the of being in the band is so important to students, but as we all know, the band hall is a sanctuary for a lot of these kids, and not just musically. It has saved a whole lot of kids. And when you think about that, and them not being able to go to that, that's really the most heartbreaking part. And so that connection, as much as we can connect with the students, I think that's really maybe paramount, particularly, well, it's really all students, but I would say probably the high school and middle school students really need that, because they're so attached to you guys, and it's one of the very special things about high school and middle school public school education, so music education. So none of us know how to deal with the fall. We don't, because none of us have any information. We just don't know, because they don't know. And if you watch the news and you can make it through the daily press conferences, you understand that they don't know either. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game. We don't like this not being in control, but it's just the way that it is. We're planning concert A, concert B, concert C, and they go from here to here to here to here. From large ensemble to smaller. I was kidding. Our Wind Symphony concerts, our audience is already social distance, so that won't be a problem. We play in a 2,200 seat hall, and 250 people. That's easy to spread out. So
that's how we feel about KU football.
So anyway, that's it.
I resemble that remote.
What's football?
We went to a bowl game, Dr. Peterson.
Yes, we did.
You beat us too.
Oh, yes.
That was a fantastic game.
Let's not talk about that. Let's just not go there. Let's not do that.
Oh, let's do.
Dr. Peterson nearly got us kicked out of the press box because he wouldn't stop yelling. So
that's true too.
Dr. Peterson, you're up.
Well, I won't add much because my 3 colleagues have said a lot. I there's not much to add. We just don't know anything. I think the best thing, the thing I've been thinking about most is what do we take from this whole experience when we're done? And Paul was talking a few minutes ago, you know, he's talking about World War II, and he's talking about 9/11. He's talking about these major events that our children and our children's children are going to read about in their history books. And I'll be damned, but if we're not in the middle of one of them, and one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one of the last 2 centuries, and so what that does is it allows us to put what we do in perspective. And I don't mean to diminish what we do one bit, but how many thousands of people died today? You know, and so whether we have marching band in the fall or not, or whether we have wind symphony in the fall or not, I'm sorry, folks, it's not a game changer for us. And so we have to just do something we don't do very well, and that's just roll with it and figure out where our place is in all this. I think it's hard for me to think. I would have said something different about 4 weeks ago when we were starting all this mess, but it's honestly hard for me to believe that we'll all be together as a university in the fall. I can't imagine, and there's all these other universities we're talking about here with these four guys, but I can't imagine at U of I, they're going to allow 48,000 students from all over the world to come together again, unless there's testing. I don't see it happening. So I guess if I'm a betting man right now, I bet, you know, there's a 50% chance we're going to be online anyway, and there won't be any ensembles. And then we're going to have to figure out, well, are we going to waive the ensemble requirements for our students and whatever? But, you know, the more you go down that rabbit hole, it just drives you crazy. So I have just chosen not to. And just to think about the fall and to program my concerts for the year. And if they don't happen this year, or if they don't happen in the fall, we'll just move them back and they'll happen some point. And this same music will still be legitimate whenever we decide to do it. I do think I need to start thinking about smaller ensembles like Kevin and my friends are doing, and I just have to, but I got a lot of time to do that, so I'm not too worried about it at this moment. The other thing that has nothing to do with music that is so fascinating to me, I think one of the people that I think she might be on this meeting with us. I got a photograph from one of my doctoral students, Patricia Venegas Ruiz, who is a university teacher in Bogota, Colombia. And she sent me these stunning pictures of this beautiful volcano from Colombia with snow cascading off it. It looks kind of like Mount Fuji. It's just beautiful. She said no one has seen that mountain in Bogota for at least 15 years at all. They didn't know, well, they knew it was there, but virtually didn't know it was there. And there are these beautiful pictures of this mountain. So we have to think about this incredibly rare opportunity that maybe comes along every 500 to 1,000 years to retool humanity. And is it going to happen, or are we just going to go right back and everybody gets back in their cars and here we go? And I don't know. That's a different subject for people that are far better thinkers than I am. But I mean, how do we take that to our level, and what do we do differently? I also don't know the answer to that. But I know that we have a rare opportunity here as a race that we need to think about pretty seriously, instead of just getting right back to the job again. So we'll see what happens. But I'm meeting with my wind symphony once a week. Those who want to, it's voluntary. We just get together and talk for an hour. We talk about anything. I shared a recipe of my mom's last week, and you know, we'll talk about music some, and we'll talk about whatever. Last week we talked about our upcoming performance at, hopefully, in the spring in Kansas at ABA, and we talked about that for a little while, and some of the interesting stresses that come along with playing at one of those things. And I talked too much and told them more than I should have, but it was interesting. So yeah, I mean, I miss making music more than I ever thought I would. And to be honest with you, this is more honest than I need to be. I've been thinking about retirement because I'm at the age when I can think about that now. I'm in my 43rd year of this, and it's like I could stop if I wanted to. But I think if I've learned nothing else in the last 5 weeks, it's like I can't do that. I'm not ready to do that. I don't have any other way to make music except at school right now. And I desperately miss my students, and I desperately miss making music with them. And I think we all feel the same way. So that's one positive that's certainly going to come out of this, even for the most cynical of our music majors, you know, who are out there. It gives us all a chance to kind of remember why we chose to do this in the first place and why we still love it. And if folks aren't reignited by this, then God help them, they are definitely in the wrong business. So I'm expecting when we do get together, there's gonna be an electricity and excitement that none of us would have ever dreamed possible. And I cannot wait for that day. I'll probably be in tears the whole rehearsal. I mean, I can't wait. And it's a long way off, and it's probably further off than any of us want. I suspect it's going to be 9 months off, but what do I know? I desperately hope I'm wrong. That's enough.
All right, and thanks to each of you for those answers. Kind of a different track with this next question. Looking back on your careers, what is the best thing that you did or chose not to do to build your skill set as a young musician teacher? And with that, are there any books or resources you would recommend to folks that you learned through that process? And let's start this with Dr. Peterson.
Oh, good. Okay. I've got a couple of interesting thoughts about this. One is that this is more advice than anything else. I think one of the things I did was to never have a target, like I'm going to be a college band director, period. That was never in my dreams when I started teaching. All I wanted to do was be my high school assistant band director. It's all I ever wanted to do. I loved him. He taught me theory. He taught me everything. And I just wanted to be like that guy. This is years ago. And so part of it is to, bloom where you're planted, do what you can do the best you can do, and don't make a decision that you're only going to be happy if you do blank, whatever, because life's going to throw us all kinds of curves along the way, and that may or may not happen, and I could absolutely I promise you I could still be a high school band director right now and be very, very happy. I love that age student. I love teaching. I really love teaching, and so I could still be doing that. I didn't go that way, and once I started in the college thing, I also realized, as all of my colleagues here you heard today, we jumped around a lot. We went where the job was. I never thought in a million years this guy from Arizona would end up in New York. That was like the most foreign thing I could ever have imagined, or Texas for that. Talk about foreign, that is foreign. So, I never thought I'd be in those places, and I went where I had to go to do what I thought was best next to do. Another thing, I'm not sure this is off the question. Aris, read the question one more time for me, will you please? Because there's another point.
Sure. Looking back on your career, what is the best thing that you did or chose not to do to build your skill set as a young musician teacher? And as a result of that, are there any books or resources that you could recommend from those experiences?
So I want to say 3 more things. One of the best decisions I ever made was to be a piano major. I had the choice to be a clarinetist, a saxophonist, or a pianist, and I decided to be a pianist. And I still play those other instruments in band when I was in college, but I remember in my senior year, I just agitated over this for months and months. What am I going to do? Am I good enough to get in on any of these instruments? And I chose piano, and I'm glad as a conductor that I did that. That's number one. Number two, it was really, I don't know how to even say this, but I think one of the reasons I was successful is because I was not afraid to fail when I was young, and I wasn't afraid to be vulnerable in front of my students, even when I was a young teacher. And if I hadn't done that, if I'd had too much armor up, like so many people that I know in our business, I wouldn't have learned what I learned. At one point, I had to sit and tell the 2 first clarinets, no, you got to do this. It's out of tune. You got to do this. And I might have been wrong. Well, okay, so you have to do this, whatever. It never bothered me when I made mistakes like that, because I was learning, and that's how we learn the best from those mistakes. And so it was really important for me, and everyone's different, to not be afraid to be vulnerable in front of my students, to tell them what I thought, to tell them how I think about music, to tell them how I felt about music. And I still do that with my Wind Symphony today. And it's one of the things that binds us together, is I'm not afraid to tell them how I really feel. So that's 2 things. And the third one, I don't have any books, but I can say I was in on some of the really early conducting symposiums when they were first getting started. I was in on the first one at the University of Colorado, which was kind of the granddaddy of them all. It still is. It started first, Alan McMurray started it. And I went to the first one of those with some of my dearest friends who are still my dear friends. And I was involved, I don't know how many of those I did, probably a half dozen in my life. And that, along with spending time with John Whitwell, are the two things that changed my life completely. It's like he made me think about music in a whole different way. And he made me go to these things and stick yourself out there. Stick yourself out there and be vulnerable and just, here it is, here I am, this is who I am, like it or not. And that's, you get beat up a lot, but that's how you get better. So I could talk 20 minutes about each one of those things, but I'll try and keep it in a nutshell and we'll move on. But those are a couple of things. Be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to go out and learn. Move where you want to move if you have to, and don't have a target that's so tight that you won't be happy in your life if you don't reach it, because you won't be happy in your life.
Awesome. Can we hear from Dr. Popeil next?
Yeah, I think the best things I did early on in my career that helped me the most, I started off teaching in Texas, going to TMEA, going to conducting symposiums, Midwest Clinic, the Michigan Music Conference when I taught there. And it isn't just the going there, but it's the networking and the people you meet and you see every year and you grow with and learn from. You've heard us all, how we've woven this tapestry of our professions together from relationships, and those things are just so powerful to what we do. I mean, it's a collaborative activity that we have, and so you never know where that network will take you. Especially when I was younger and had a little more time, I played in everything I could possibly play in. I played in band and orchestra, jazz band, and a big band radio show, and I played on a cruise ship, and I'm currently in a really terrible garage rock band, but all of it makes me the musician who I am, and all of it affects my brain, and all of it makes me better. And damn, playing any good music is fun. That was a thing I benefited from quite a bit when I was younger. I just took every opportunity to play. One of the things I learned from Kevin Setadal actually was go to other people's rehearsals. When I first took the job in Warren, Michigan, Kevin invited me to come watch Bob Reynolds rehearse. Told me when they rehearsed, and I was like, "You can do that?" And Kevin said, "Yeah, just here's the day, here's the time, here's the room. Come anytime." And watching Kevin rehearse and watching Bob Reynolds rehearse, I mean, it's just an amazing experience. And it isn't just going, it's that active participation when you're watching somebody rehearse. The first thing you think about is, when would I have stopped? And of course, the answer is always, I would have stopped a long time ago. But when you're watching a great conductor work, they go and go and go and go. And when they stop, you have to ask yourself, okay, what would I say next? What would I say first? And then watch what the person you're observing, watch what they do, and compare those answers and try to decide why that person's been doing it longer than you and how they know more than you do. That active participation in watching somebody rehearse has been invaluable. 1,000 books and articles and reads, but one I come back to all the time is Bob Reynolds' article, Guiding Principles of Conducting. If you want to be a better teacher and a better conductor, all the answers are in that article. I read it multiple times a year because I use it in classes, and every time I read it, I'm reminded what a gem that little article is. And if I could offer a quick bit of advice, especially to the younger teachers out there, be patient with yourself, as Steve Peterson said. I wasted so much energy wanting to be the next thing in my career that I didn't enjoy enough the moments that I was in them. If I could do it all over again, I'd do everything again, but I'd have enjoyed the ride more and been more patient with myself. sometimes I was in such a hurry that I didn't get a chance to love the moments I was having.
Great. And I want to hear the rock band at some point. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah, that's great.
Shark bait.
Shark bait? All right. This is good information. Can we hear, please, from Dr. Say that again? Oh, my goodness. Can we hear from Dr. Seditz on that?
Go ahead. All right.
Well, this is all of that's great, and I believe everything that everyone said so far. I've written down a few things. First, I would say you all need to find great mentors. I've been so incredibly fortunate to have strong mentors who have honestly been lifelong mentors from, of course, my dad, but Richard Crane since 1980 has been my mentor, both personally and professionally. Mike Haithcock's been the same way. Jerry Junkin's been the same way. John Whitwell's been the same. I mean, and they've been so incredibly loyal. That's so important for all of you, particularly those of you who are young teachers. You probably have a lot of people around you who have done great work and would love to help you. So I would reach out. I would ask questions. I would seek people that have got years of experience and in a variety of topics. If you don't know alternate fingerings for a certain instrument and you can't get something in tune, go call somebody. I guarantee you they could probably give you, well, try this and, try this and try this. Oh, wouldn't even thought of that. And that's one of the really cool things about our community is that we love to share and to help each other. So I would definitely suggest that. The second thing is, if you're in opportunities to engage with great people, don't be scared to engage. If some of you are in grad school or whatever, and some big name comes to your school, engage, go introduce, be part of what they're there for. That's increasing your personal musical depth when you do that. Don't be worried about, oh, I'm too little. They don't, like when you're working on a piece of music, if you can contact the composer, contact the composer. They love to engage. Even the biggest names, they will take your emails, your phone calls. It might not be immediate, but they will get around to it. So I just would never miss that opportunity. I'm going to give you one example of this. When I was teaching at Stephen F. Austin, the Dallas Winds came to Nacogdoches to do a concert at the Performing Arts Center there. And Frederick Fennell was conducting. He did the whole show. And he was going to do a residency at this little teeny tiny school with our conducting students. And well, my colleague at the time, he goes, can you deal with Dr. Fennell, because I'm real nervous in those situations. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he goes, yeah, I just can't. I'm like, yep, I'll take care of it. You don't need to ask it. So I drove him everywhere. I took him to meals everywhere. I had one-on-one time with him that I wouldn't ever miss that opportunity. And it was just by chance that I got to be able to do that. But we became pretty good friends based on that, his residency there. And I can give you a number of other cases where that would be true. And you just don't want to miss those opportunities. So don't feel like you're not, I'm not high enough on the food chain to go talk to that person. That's ridiculous. People love to talk, and they like to talk about what they do to other people. So, they put their pants on just like anybody else does. And so I would highly suggest that. Books. For creativity and thinking about music in a creative way, The Mind's Ear by Bruce Adolph. It's a little tiny book. You should go find it. It's great for just your thinking. If you don't have this book, Whoops, sorry. You should go invest. There, and I'm not getting any paid back for this. This is a fantastic book on teaching, and many of you probably already have it. But this is a master teacher that has spent time at all levels: middle school, high school, and collegiate and adult band. He's taught every level with extremely high level of success, and this is just pearls of wisdom about a variety of topics. There's a second book that's getting ready to come out. It'll probably be in the fall, but I would highly suggest that you get the book by Richard Floyd, The Artistry of Teaching and Making Music. It's from a practitioner, so I would invest. The last thing I would say to you, have an interest outside of what you do every day. Try to have something that you can engage in that is not what you do from 7 until whenever in the evening, or when you have an open weekend, or when you're on a break. It's so important to have things that are not involved in, because you're going to drive yourself crazy if you don't. And go find whatever it is you're into. Go find what's the very best in that. You know, go find who's at the top level of if you're into photography. Go find what's the very best in that. If you're into sailing, if you're into biking, if you're into I happen to be into wine. Dr. Dorsey's into wine. Dr. Peterson not into wine, but or whatever the case may be. I think you're going to find a lot of comparisons with what we know in what's quality in music. I think you're going to find a lot of the same aspects in what's quality and other things. It's just an interesting process to go through, and it's a great outlet for you to where you're not so constantly thinking about the job. I'm convinced that that's why people burn out and can't sustain over time, because you just get so tired, and sometimes it feels like you're hitting a wall. Well, when you feel like that, that's when you need to change what you're looking at, you know? So those are my things.
Can I add one other thing?
Of course.
To what Kevin just said, you know, he talked about finding things outside of music to do with yourself. And Paul said the same thing. He alluded to the fact that it's important for us, if we're going to be complete humans, well, that we must be complete humans. And to do that, we have to do something besides just music. And I would add to that I think it's important to listen to music besides band music. I have to admit, I just don't listen to band music very much at home. I listen to Miles Davis, and I listen to Kenny Rogers, and I listen to you just name it. I go all over the place, you know, and it's really important, and it's important. And of course, I listen to the Berlin Philharmonic, and I listen to any number of string quartets and whatever. But get outside your comfort zone and find other kinds of music that will help you grow. And I don't do it for that reason. I don't sit at home and say, well, I'm going to choose this because it's going to make me a better musician. I choose music that I want to listen to and that I don't know, and I listen to it. One of my very closest friends is a guy named Rick Clary from Florida State. That guy knows more music than all of us on this whole thing put together. And he knows who wrote it, and he knows who played on the recording session, and he knows who conducted it, and he knows everything. He makes me feel like I'm about this tall every time. And he sends me stuff all the time. 2 days ago, he says, here's 2 versions of this old Thad Jones tune that you've got to hear. I like this one because the trumpets are a little blah, 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 and this one's better because of this. And that's just Rick. And, you know, it's what he spends his whole life doing. And he always forces me to do that and to be a better musician by just listening. So sorry, I interrupted. Rodney's next. So, but it's important.
Dr. Dorsey?
So with that comment that Steve Peterson made, everything I was going to say has already been said. I was really happy that, man, no one talked about listening to music outside. Oh, okay. But anyway, I will reinforce what these guys are going to say because it was on my list. The one of the times in my life that my musical world was turned upside down in a good way was in a clarinet lesson at Florida State with my teacher, Frank Kowalski. And he looked at me and he said, "Do you know Strauss's Four Last Songs?" And I went, no. Is there a band arrangement of it? Because that's all the CDs I had. Clarinet, lit, and band music. I didn't have anything else. And if I listened to orchestral music, I would run it forward to find the clarinet excerpt that was on our listening exam and then not listen to anything else. And so back in the 80s, like you did, I walked down to the record store and found the CD of Elizabeth Schwarzkopf singing Strauss's Four Last Songs. And it changed my life. And I got hooked on just what Steve Peterson said, listening to string quartets, in anything else other than what I do. And I, like him, I've listened to more band music since we've been out of school than I have in a long time, just because I have time to do it. And I'm not doing it to plan concerts under a deadline. I can just listen and go back to pieces. So that really changed my life. Ask questions of people. Find a small number of people that you trust that can give you honest feedback. And that's not gonna be a big list. I use the word friend very judiciously. I know a lot of people. I have a very small number of friends, and I'm sure a lot of you are the same way. But find people you can get honest feedback from, that you can send a recording, that you don't have to be, there's no, well, I'm afraid, like Kevin said, well, I'm afraid they'll think I'm weak if I don't know the answer. Who cares? Just ask. Find out about that information for people. And those are two things that that I think are important. And maybe, in 8 years of teaching high school, one thing I can say is get out of the band room more. I mean, I had a principal once, my last high school, it was a new school, and I asked him for money for a fax machine. And he said no. He said, "There's a fax machine in the front office." I don't want to walk all the way up there. He said, "Rodney, if I get you a fax machine, you'll never leave that band room. And I don't want people to have little kingdoms. I want you to get out." So go to things, make sure other people know you, that, first time you go to the drama teacher is not when you're trying to get a kid out to go to a contest, but you have a relationship with those people. So those are everything everybody else said, plus this, those are the things I think are important.
Great, thank you. I think that's everyone, right? So, okay, so our next question, and I know, in this time of uncertainty, it might be a little up in the air, but I was wondering if each of you could talk to us about maybe what your next big thing is, or, a big event that you had coming up that you were looking forward to, or maybe a recent CD release, perhaps. Let's start with Dr. Sedetov on this one.
Sure. Well, unfortunately, I should just say this year is the 150th anniversary of bands at Michigan State. And our culminating concert was supposed to be this coming Saturday, where all three of our concert bands were going to perform. Each band had a commissioned work for them. And we were having guest conductors come back, or former conductors come back to guest conduct the bands that they conducted while they were on faculty. But that's obviously not going to take place. So we've moved that to November of the fall, and we'll see if we can make it happen. We're also going to include our high school honors group with that. So it's going to be it may take the place of our big marching band show, which is Spartan Spectacular. We'll do it in a different way if we get to have it at all. The three pieces that were going to be, well, the composers, I'm not sure of the titles yet, but Aaron Perrine is doing a piece for Dr. Golden's band. Yvette Harriman, who's one of our former students at Michigan State. She's writing a beautiful lyrical piece for the symphony band that David Thornton conducts. And then Joe Tien, who's on our composition faculty at Michigan State, is writing a big piece for the Wind Symphony. It's called Symphonia, that we're not going to wait to premiere that in November. We're actually going to do that. If we get to have a concert in September, we'll premiere it then, so we can get the piece out to the consortium members. But that's going to be that's the big thing for us. We're just going to we're going to use the entire year to celebrate, because we don't really know if we're celebrating in 19 or 20. So we're just moving it all the way across. We did our big marching band celebration in last fall. We had a lot of people on the field, which was really, really cool. Well over 900 alumni came back, and so that was a great celebration. And we'll do something equally celebratory when we get the opportunity to do it. We also have a brand new building that we're opening. The grand opening was supposed to be last Friday. So we have a brand new building that's sitting there that no one can go in, and which is a little bit sad. But it's just going to make us appreciate it that much more when we get to enjoy it. So.
Thank you. Dr. Peterson.
We just got off our 150th a year ago. So that was a very big year for us, playing at CBDNA and several new commissions and that kind of thing. Same thing with the marching band and that kind of thing. So we've kind of enjoyed a quiet year, I must say. I've enjoyed a little bit of a quiet year this year, though still plenty going on. When everything closed down at school, we were about 4 rehearsals away from a performance of Circus Maximus, which we'll just put off till later. We'll do it sometime coming up. I don't know what next year's going to bring. I'm hoping we've been invited, and we're thrilled to be asked to play at the American Bandmasters Association Convention in Kansas next March. And that will be the highlight for us if that happens. We expect it will by March, I hope. Just hope we have a band at that point, depending on what happens in the fall. So we've got that to look forward to, and just straight ahead.
Great, thank you. Dr. Dorsey.
Well, I'm excited about a concert we have planned for November with one of our choral groups on campus. It's a chamber choir called Notice, which Dominic Diorio.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah, which he works with. He actually wrote a piece for Steve Peterson and they're right for some big celebration there.
Yeah, we did it in New York.
Yeah, right. So I'm really excited about that. I did a piece with chamber choir and winds out at Oregon, and if you've never conducted a choir, you should do it. It's awesome. There's something about music coming out of a human being without a machine that is just stunning. So I'm really looking forward to that. And like Kevin, hopefully if it can't happen in November, we can move it somewhere else. But I'm really excited about that. But I think with all of us, I'm just excited about getting back and working with students again.
And Dr. Popeil.
Yeah, I echo that, Rodney. I just want to teach band again soon. We just had, I think it was 3 weeks ago, the release of our latest CD on the Naxos label. It's called Freedom from Fear, kind of a providential title that we came up with 2 years ago, but it's on Spotify and iTunes, and I'm really pleased with the work the students did and really happy with the CD. It's got, speaking of working with choir, it's got David Maslanka's Liberation that we did with men's chorus. That was really powerful and incredible to work with the choir. Aaron Perrine's In the Open Air in the Silent Lines. and Kevin Walzik's symphony called Freedom from Fear, which is epic work, but it's about the immigration crisis. And it's got a wind ensemble, a jazz band, a soprano, and a voice soprano. And I'm sure it'll be a marching band show in most of Texas high schools next fall. But the CD is really cool. I hope you have a chance to check it out. That was kind of our big thing this spring. We kind of missed the big release party and all that. We had just separated when the CD came out. We were supposed to go to Milan with the wind ensemble this fall, and that just got canceled a week or two ago. We've postponed that for a year. We've got a relationship with the Verdi Conservatory in Milan, so we're going to do a combined thing with them, but fall of 2020. As Steve mentioned, we're hosting American Bandmasters Association in March. So we're scrambling to get that together now. You know, with the hotels closed down, all the businesses are closed down. It's really hard to make that work, but we're keeping busy with that. For our performance at ABA, we've got a Jim Barnes who still lives here in Lawrence. He's writing an opener for that concert, so we'll premiere that at ABA. Kevin Walzik, dear friend, is writing the closer. He's a member of ABA. He's writing the closer for that concert. And composer Tom DeVoren is writing a trumpet concerto that will premiere that night for Jens Lindemann. So that'll be a big project for us next year. And then we've pushed it off until the following year, but I'm working on a big project with Aaron Perrine to do a wind band work, electronics, and Gila Plitman that we're really excited about, but of course everything's sort of thrown off right now with the economics of all that. But those are the things we've got going for the next year and a half or so.
Great, thank you. Well, that wraps up all of our questions here. So I want to thank our panel, Dr. Sedatal, Dr. Dorsey, Dr. Popeil, and Dr. Peterson for joining us. And thank you to all of you for joining us. Hope this was as insightful for you all as it was, I know, for Dr. Golden and myself. And so good luck, stay healthy, stay safe, stay home, and we hope to see you all again soon sometime. Thank you.
Be well,
Thanks,
everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you.
Anthony, is everybody muted?
There's still people in this. There's still people who are leaving. I can.
Hi, Giannis. It's good to see you.
Still got a few.
Okay, so you guys said to never hesitate to introduce yourself to people that are you guys. So I'm Stephanie Adams. I teach at Worth County Middle School in South Georgia. I just graduated at Valdosta State University this past May. So I just wanted to say hi. It's been great listening to you all.
Stay inside. Don't listen to your governor.
I'm not, for sure.
All right. I think I can remove people here. This is tedious. We're getting there. Blah. You have to go through and remove each person individually. You can't just. There we go. All right, now it's just us.
Now we can talk.
Yes.
Did Steve and Rodney leave?
I guess
They
so.
did. I can text
Um,
Steve to get back on.
Here, wait. Hold on.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Paul's muted. Maybe that's on purpose. I don't know.
That was self-muted. That was awesome, you guys. Thank you for doing that.
That was such
Thank you guys.
That was a lot of people.
Yeah, it's about. I think we peaked at about 172,
Looked like
including us.
pages of people. So
Yeah, it was great. So
Evidently,
of
we
fun.
had a toilet flusher as they were leaving the area. Tiffany's like, "Did you hear that toilet flush?" And I'm like, "No, but thanks for letting me know."